Shalom Chavarim. Hello, friends, colleagues, and anyone else who may be listening to this video. My name is Richard Solomon, and the title for this spiel, a little talk, is going to be called Trust, Authenticity, Transparency, and Negative Assertion. Now, perhaps some of you had seen my previous broadcast when I explained to the audience and to Hillary Clinton that there is a way for her to be able to enable the American people to perceive her as being trustworthy. In other words, there is a perception that Mrs. Clinton is not trustworthy, is deceitful, shaves the truth, etc. And in that particular broadcast, I had suggested that Mrs. Clinton simply indicate that she had made a mistake, that there was a difference between what she said to the FBI and what the FBI director said she had said, that in fact there were several emails that were marked classified that she received and transmitted, and she is sorry about that, and that that simply is the truth. And we mentioned that a trustful person or an authentic person is a person whose actions and or behaviors and statements or words are consistent. And I had suggested that Mrs. Clinton simply admit to that, to what had transpired, okay, and the mistake she had made. Now, I thought it would be interesting for me to share an example from my own life where I used this advice, the advice that I gave Hillary. Okay, so let me tell you this story that I think is amusing. Most of you don't know, obviously, that I served as a congregational cantor for 28 years in a Reform shul in Columbia, Maryland. Okay, so there came a time, one Hanukkah, when the kids were about 8 or 10, that I did a foolish thing. My wife and I bought the kids a little basketball hoop that you could place on a door and they could throw a Nerf ball into the hoop. But what was interesting about the basketball hoop is that it contained these two suction cups to allow the hoop, or the basketball hoop, to be attached to the door. And the foolish thing that I did was I took the two suction cups from the basketball hoop and I placed those suction cups on my head so that they were strongly secured to my head. And I said to the kids, I dare you to take those suction cups off my head. And they tried and they tried and they tried to pull it and pull. They couldn't do it. Finally, I took it off. And lo and behold, what happened was I had two gigantic black and blue and red and purple circles on my forehead. And I had to sing for services that Friday night. So my wife said to me, sweetheart, I have the solution. All you do is I'll put some makeup on your forehead and no one will be able to see this. You'll cover it up. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. First of all, they'll be able to tell anyway because it would just be obvious. What I prefer to do is tell them what actually occurred. I'm just going to admit to them. I was playing with the kids. I attached the suction cups to my forehead and I asked them to pull it off. They couldn't do it, and this is the result. And sure enough, I sang that night, and after services and before services, people asked me what happened to my forehead, and I explained it. And folks said, well, that's the way Richard Solomon is. He does silly things and he tells the truth. He admits it. It's not a big problem. Okay. So that's what happened. Now, what I would like you to know is that members of my congregation viewed me, I assume, as being an authentic human being. If I make a mistake, I do something silly, I own up to it, I tell them what happened. So I was perceived as being trustworthy, as being authentic because my actions and my words were consistent, and I was being transparent, both literally and figuratively. Now, where does the concept negative assertion come in? The concept of negative assertion is an idea that came from Manuel J. Smith, who around 1985 wrote a book called When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. It was a book on assertiveness training, and one of the things that he said in his book is that when you make a mistake, you do something negative, just own up to it. And he called that negative assertion. So what I was suggesting that Hillary Clinton do is negative assertion. Assert that she made a mistake. As I asserted I made a mistake with regard to the suction cups, and my congregation and the American people in terms of Hillary will forgive her also and just perceive her as making mistakes like all of us make. Of course, the goal is not to continually make mistakes or to continually be dishonest. Your goal is to be honest and do the correct thing for, in my case, my congregation, and in Hillary's case, the American people. Thank you so very much for listening to this message.